Okay, here's our video on complementary and supplementary angles. So we're going to talk about what complementary and supplementary angles are, and then learn how to solve problems using them. Okay, so make sure you write down the title at the top of your page. Then I'm going to be moving on to the definitions part. Okay, here's our definitions. Make sure that you write these down in your notebook. First, complementary angles. Complementary angles are two or more angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. So they create a right angle. Okay, so complementary angles that add up to 90 degrees or a right angle. Now, one thing that you need to know is that angles do not have to be necessarily together like they are in my example. I have an example of one, but they don't necessarily have to be together like that. They could be two separate angles somewhere else. Okay. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. Okay, and again, they don't have to be next to each other. They could be separated or together like they are here. And 180 degrees are angles that are a straight line or a straight angle, which is also 180 degrees. So there's an example of what they look like. So make sure you write down those definitions in your notebook. Okay, if you need to pause, go ahead and do that now. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to our first set of examples. Okay, first we're going to talk about complementary angles. So let's find the complementary angle in this example. So in A, the measure of angle A equals 37 degrees. So if they're complementary, that means they add up to 90 degrees. So I know that the other angle has to be the angle to get to 90 degrees. Now, the short way of doing this was just to say 90 minus 37, and 90 minus 37 is 53. So your answer would be 53 degrees. Okay? The algebraic way would be to write an equation. That would be like, let's say, 37 plus x, the angle we don't know, equals 90 degrees. Subtract 37 from both, so x equals 53. This is why we can just subtract 53 from both sides, because of this algebraic way right here. Okay, so here's the work. You can show it either way. There's your work, and there's your answer. Okay, for B, in this one, I don't tell you that they're complementary, but I do show you that there's a picture. Now, in the directions, we know they're complementary, but here's a picture, so I don't have to tell you that they're complementary because you can see that this angle here is 90 degrees, which means the two angles that make it up add up to 90. So again, the short way just to be to do 90 minus 64, and 90 minus 64 is 26 degrees, so this would be 26. Or you could say, x plus 64 equals 90 degrees. Subtract 64 from both sides. So x equals 26 would work. Okay? If you need to pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next example. In the next example, we're going to find the value of x, and then find the measure of each angle. So this is going to be a little bit more work here. Again, I'm not giving you angle measures on this one, so that's what makes it a little bit harder. So now I have to use the algebra way. So for this one, I would do 2x plus x equals 90 degrees. Then I would add these up, and that's 3x equals 90. Divide both sides by 3. So you get x equals 30. So now you find the measure of each angle. So I figured out x, that's step 1. Now I find the measure of each. This is 30, and then this one is 2 times 30, which would be 60 degrees. So it would be 30 degrees and 60 degrees. And that's how you would do those. Okay, if you need to pause and write that down, go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to example 2. Okay, in example 2, we're finding supplementary angles. So this time, they're going to add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to do the same thing, except have them do 180. So you do 180 minus 37 degrees. And when I subtract those, I'm going to get 143 degrees. Okay, or I could write it as an equation. I could do 37 plus x equals 180. I could subtract 37 from both sides. So I'd get x equals 143 degrees. Okay? So either way, I'm getting 143 degrees. In B, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay? So I can do 180 minus 64. And when I do that, I get 116 degrees. Or I can do an algebra, and I could do 64 plus x equals 180. And then I could subtract 64 from both sides. That would give me x equals 116. So that would be my answer. You could do those either way. Okay? If you need to pause, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll be moving on to my last example. In our next example, I'm not giving you angle measures, but I'm giving you in terms of x. So you need to solve these. So just like the last one, I would set them up algebraically. 2x plus 3x, so the two angle measures, equals 180. Combine my x's, so that's 5x equals 180. Then divide both sides by 5, so I would get x equals 36. Okay, so that's step 1. Now it says find the measure of each angle. So for this one, I would do 2 times 36, which is 72. So this would be 72 degrees. And for this one, I would do 3 times 36, which would be 108. So that would be 108 degrees. Okay? If you need to pause, go ahead. If you need to watch anything, go back and watch it. Otherwise, have a great night, and I will see you guys later.